can still come through for them. Even if we made mistakes as we were parenting, God still can be able to restore that which looks like it is lost. There is hope in God. We can put our confidence in him, and we continue trusting in him. So as we begin, I want to welcome Wambui to be able to take over now so that we can get direct into the topic. Our time has been spent a little bit, but I know it was worthy it, even being able to hear that testimony this evening. Wambui, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi everyone. I hope you're well. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Let me check your microphone a little bit. Your microphone sounds low. I don't know. Or I don't know whether it's your voice that is low. Try it again, Wambui.
Let me switch to headphones.
Okay, today we will be doing our lesson live on YouTube. Kindly, if you can be able to switch to the link that I will be sharing live on YouTube, we will be sharing a video that you may be able to see it. So kindly, if you can be able to go on YouTube, you'll be able to see that link. I'll be sharing it there on our group. Yeah, that will help you be able to hear and see the videos that Wambui will be sharing a lesson with. So thank you so much. Welcome, Wambui.
This is better.
Yeah, but still your voice is low.
My voice is low.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether it's my system. Those that are on radio, can you hear Wambui? Just a little bit, I think. Wambui, try speaking now. Hello, Wambui, can you try speaking now?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, it's better, but yeah.
And now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, this is better.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, let me plug in my machine and then we start.
Okay, last time we've been talking about the parenting styles, and last Tuesday I was not able to be together with you. I was in a meeting that I was really supposed to be participating in, so I was not able to be together with you. But I remember, of course, the conversation was about even being able to understand our children through the ages, or through the stages, even when they're young. How can we be able to employ then our parenting styles? So we are deciding that as we are trying to employ or become better parents, and I remember, I think the very first time the question was, are there times we change our parenting styles according to age? And of course, we had a thinking or hypothesis that sometimes we may be very permissive when the children are a little bit younger, and we start becoming authoritarians or authoritative when the children become in their teenage. And of course, the desire was be able to maintain authoritative parenting throughout the age of the children, because if then we become too permissive when they're younger, then again, still, we will expose them. There are things they will not be able to be guided well. There are things they will not be able to know. And we say that, of course, even again, the authoritarian parenting style, we talked about it producing children who are a little bit very, children who are bitter with life, who are angry, who all the time are trying to revenge. And sometimes, of course, children living without a purpose. It's because they have been forced to live a life that is not their own. So those are some of the issues we were able to look into. And I believe even today, Wambui will be getting deeper now into understanding these parenting styles, the authoritative, the authoritarian, the permissive, and we sometimes use neglectful parenting style. Being able to understand them and how we can employ the authoritative parenting style at every age of the child. So Wambui, I believe you're back now.
I am. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, today I wanted us to look at some practical examples of what we've been talking about. I tried to find some, I want to share my screen. I tried to find some videos online. So I want us to start with children throwing tantrums, both young children and a teenager. And I want us to look at actually 3 examples, and then maybe we can determine or, see what we've been talking about. So this is the first example. Let me make this full screen. So this is the first example of the child. I hope you can hear.
You can add the volume a little bit from your side. Okay, it's okay now.
Even as we look at this, maybe we can do short discussions. I hope you guys have heard the mother saying that I'm the mother, so you should listen.
We could hardly hear from our side.
You could hardly hear from your side.
Yes, I don't know whether it's your mic.
I think then my laptop volume is low because it's on maximum.
Okay.
Anyway, the mother has just said that you should listen to me because I'm the parent. That's the first engagement as far as this video is concerned that we hear from the mother. I truly hope you will be able to hear. Can you hear?
No, I think maybe it's muted. That's what I'm thinking.
So when I play the
Not
video,
not from your side.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you can't hear.
Yeah, you know, we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, so it maybe it was muted. It has been muted, maybe.
Oh no. Okay. Sawa. Because if you can't hear, then it's not going to be helpful. I don't know how to proceed.
You can explain the video from your side.
Okay. I would really have hoped that you guys could hear and see, but basically there were a couple of, I had 4 videos that were explaining what we've been talking about, how to handle children in different ages. So for example, in this video, there's what we call a twin, meaning they are in between teenage and childhood. That's between 10 and 12. And they're having a meltdown in the car because they want to be taken home. And the mother barely engages. She says, you know, I'm the parent, you should listen to me. We can see the child pulling the mother's hair and the mother doesn't say anything. They're actually just laughing. And then when the child starts to throw things around, there isn't much engagement except to try and, you know, now exert authority and tell him no. So that's basically the gist of the video. I really don't understand why you can't hear. Anne, please ask whether the people can hear or see on the ones who are watching from live.
Okay, can you be able to hear those that are watching live on or hearing live on radio? Ebu, put it on, I check. Yes, the sound is there, but it's faint. But we can be able to see what is happening.
So
you
I
can
can just
explain what is happening.
Okay. That will work because it's pretty, I think if you can see, you can be able to understand what's going on. Like here we see, coming up, we see that boy pulling the mother's hair.
Explain what is happening.
And at this point in time, she's trying to reason with the boy, but the boy is extremely upset. So, you know, okay, let me just explain as we go along. So number one, not engaging with the child is what we said, you know, that's the first mistake, because when you don't engage the child, you make that child think that it's okay to behave the way that they are behaving. They pull your hair, they do all those things, and you're not even saying anything. Your only response is that you're the parent and they should listen to you. But unfortunately, that's not enough. That's not enough to get your child to listen to you, because, you know, at that point in time, it's like they're in a frenzy, they're crazed. And unless you exert authority that shows children, I am the parent, then even if you say it to them. Then another thing we said is to avoid reasoning with your children when they are in this state. In this state, you can't talk to a child and they listen. There's nothing you can say to them that, you know, will help them understand what's going on. So it's quite long, but anyway, it continues like this for quite a while because the strategies she has adopted are not working. Ignoring is not helping because, your child will continue to do the things they're doing because they're not being corrected. 2, trying to exert authority without actually following up on your authority. Like, I'm sure the parent has said this to the child many times. I'm the parent, you're the child, you should listen. But there needs to be a practical example, or a practical, let me just say, example of you being the parent and them being the child, for them to be able to listen. It doesn't matter what the age is. There's also another example here. Oh gosh, I really wish you could hear. Anyway, let's see. Can you hear?
No.
No. Anyway, the child is throwing things. I'm sure you can see. Let's just so in this one, the child is upset over something. I think they want candy. And so they are throwing a tantrum and they are throwing things, and there's no engagement from the parent, to direct them in any way. However, the child ends by saying, "Mom, you're so mean." And it ends with the child upset. I think they also hit themselves in the process of throwing a tantrum, and so they get even more upset, but this time it's sadness. So this video was an example of how children throwing tantrums are not looking to make you angry. They are not looking to oh, okay.
Yes, just continue. I was checking. I think it's being muted.
It's being muted.
Mm.
So being muted by?
You just continue.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so this child's, at the end of this temper tantrum, they are crying over sadness. So I think, like we said, most children throwing tantrums tend to be looking for connection, or they're looking to have a need fulfilled that is not being fulfilled. And children have not yet learned how to handle their emotions. They've not yet learned how to express what they need without extremes. So this is explained perfectly by this video, because at the end of the tantrum, this child is just sad and telling the mother that the mother is mean, because that anger is not, it's not anger for "I hate you," or it's not anger for any of those things. It's just an anger for I have a need I want to express, but I don't know how to express it yet, or I'm looking for connection. And the easiest way for me to find connection is to look for attention in such ways. So it's never they're not just trying to make you angry or to get a raise from you. It's either they're looking for connection, or they are trying to express emotions, and these emotions are overwhelming. This third video is a perfect example of now how to parent while a child is throwing a tantrum. But if you can't hear, then it's not helpful. But in this video, this child is throwing a tantrum because they've lost their beach ball, which fell into the water. As you can see from the background, they're in a lake or something. Anyway, this child loses the beach ball, and so they come back crying, they throw a tantrum. And so now the mother is telling him that it's okay to be upset, but it's not okay to throw things. It's okay to be upset, but you will not talk to me like that. The child throws the chair. The mother tells them, pick up that chair and come here. But the mother is still acknowledging their emotions, telling them that it's okay, I'm sorry, I know you wanted that beach ball. But when she needs to draw a boundary, she draws the boundary. So she engages the child and lets, the child know that it's okay to be upset. I'm sorry you lost your beach ball, perhaps you can find another one and things like that. But the minute the child does something that is not acceptable, the mother is quick to point it out and tell the child, it's okay to be upset, but you cannot throw things, or it's okay to be upset, but you will not talk to me like that. And we do not talk to people like that in this house, or we do not throw things when we're upset in this house. And so the mother is in between trying to placate the child. Actually, I wish you could hear her voice. She's very calm. And like the other videos where the mother is now in a shouting match with the child and, trying to exert authority and trying to sometimes reason with the child, this mother is very calm. She's not trying to reason with the child as the child is upset. She's not trying to exert authority in terms of like shouting match with the child, but she is exerting authority in letting the child know that there are certain boundaries in this house and in this family. So, and also while she's doing that, her voice is calm and she's also trying to placate the child because the child is upset. And this is just, where they're at developmentally, this is the only way they know how to express big emotions. So the mother actually does it very well with this child. And I wanted to find out, are the people on the other end, can they hear?
Still your voice is low.
Mine is low.
Yes.
Wow, I'm actually shouting. I don't know whether switching to my phone will help.
I think that is the best.
Sorry guys for the interruption. And kindly let me in.
Okay. Yes, I have. So we continue. Of course, the very first video there we've been checking from Wambui. Of course, these are things we keep seeing. These are tantrums we see our children do, or maybe even when our children were younger, we saw them do these things. And sometimes I see like some of them have even gone to the extreme. You see almost like parents are beating the children, or the child is beating the parents. Sometimes it becomes crazy. So these are I believe if we can be able to understand the concept that Wambui is bringing out here, then we will be able to really know how to handle these things. If there is a time parents don't know what to do, is when a child is throwing tantrums. So Wambui, you're back.
Yes, I hope I'm clearer now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. And I think you're okay also on YouTube. You're now clear.
Okay. I want to see whether playing the video will.
It may not play. Just leave the video for now. Maybe just explain it. I think explain the scenarios. It won't play.
Okay. Because I feel like me explaining the scenarios is not as effective as the videos. I think what I can do is I can share a link to these videos because
yes,
they give examples. There's actually one where they actually show how a parent engages when their teenager comes home late and how they respond to that situation. And they actually give two parallel examples of how to respond in a healthy way and how that situation ends, and how when the parent responds in an unhealthy way, how that situation ends. It also has another one where it shows how a parent responds to a child going out, and they had not asked about it, and all of that. And it shows two ways in which the parent responds in a healthy way and the parent responds in an unhealthy way, same situation, same scenario, and how that shows up. So that would have been really good to show. I think what also would help is maybe I can look for a way to download those videos. But
Yes.
anyway, we are not doing it today. I think I'll just share the links of those videos. So I think then maybe because we can't do that, allow me to give a kind of like a finishing or a closing for this parenting series, summary of things we've talked about. So the
Yes.
first thing comes to mind is parenting styles. So we talked about the different parenting styles and how they affect the children. And actually in those videos, they are very apparent how different parenting styles affect children. So we said that authoritative is what we are looking to be, where you have authority and you know you have that authority and you're not trying to prove it, but also it's infused with love, so that everything you do flows from a point of love. If you're going to tell the child not to behave in a particular way, it's not coming from a point of trying to control the child, rather coming from a point of, I know if you behave in this and this way, it's going to affect you in this and this way, and I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to help you have a prosperous future. And so certain behaviors and certain actions will hinder that. So that is the mindset of an authoritative parent. In contrast, the mindset of an authoritarian parent is, this is what I've said and I need you to obey it, or I want you to obey it. Regardless of, my mindset is not because it helps the child in such and such a way, or because it impacts the child in such a way. The mindset is, what I say goes, and obedience must be followed in my house, my rules. That's the difference between the mindset of an authoritative parent and an authoritarian parent. And we said for an authoritarian parent, subsequently, they don't involve the child in decision making. They don't involve the child in how they parent. They want to give directions, give commands, and they are followed. And that usually builds resentment in children, and it usually results in what we usually call the pastor's kids phenomena, where typically, or what has been noticed in the past, is that children who grow up in pastors' homes tend to be rebellious at some point in time, because the narrative was, what I say goes, because we want to look good out there, so you must obey me. And we are not debating. It's not all. It's just that became a narrative, although it's not necessarily all pastors' homes. But anyway, the point is to listen to the child and to engage them, even in how decision making is being done. In one of those simulations that I'll send you, the son comes home late, and the first one, the unhealthy simulation, we see the child coming home late. The father, immediately the child walks through the door, they are so upset, telling them, didn't I tell you about such and such? And they go on a rant about how this child never listens and all of that. And so this child becomes defensive, and we can see them also now reacting, where they throw things, they throw something they had held down, and then they storm to their room. There's no development or help that has happened there. And then in the second simulation, this child comes home, and so the father comes from the room and asks the child, are you okay? Where are you coming from? And the parent seems genuinely concerned, and they tell the child, we talked about coming home at this time. And the parent explains, it's because I care about your safety, and at certain points in time, if you exceed a certain time, then, I can't guarantee your safety. And I need to know that you're safe because I care about you and because I love you. And then the parent goes on to say, but now that, you have crossed a certain And you can be sure that these two had discussed, this is the time that would be appropriate for me to come home. And so the parent tells the child, because you broke, a rule that we had talked about, your curfew would be at 6 p.m. So the child is immediately taken aback and says, but dad, nini, all that. But then the dad tells the child, it's dependent on your behavior. If you can show me or show us that you truly care about your safety, and then maybe we can revise it. But for now, that's so that. And the the child is going to walk away, his arm around the child, and asks the child, in case you want to talk about anything else, I am available. So we see him using a lot of I statements, which show or reflect how he feels, rather than use statements, which are usually blaming statements. You don't do this. I told you, if you use a lot of yous, they become blaming statements. But if you can use I statements, I was worried about you, I would have liked to know where you are, and such things, then the child does not feel blamed. And so that action of the father actually then telling the child if they need to talk about anything is actually very helpful, because you never know why your child was out late. So when you create that atmosphere where your child can come to you, even when they've done the wrong thing, and they can talk to you, then it's extremely helpful, because both situations have ended. The first one, you're angry at each other, your child is resentful, you don't even know where your child was or what they were doing, you don't know if they were in trouble, you don't know any of that. But in this second one, you communicate why you are upset, and it's because you care about the child, and these are rules that you have discussed between you two, and the child knows about it. And you also create a consequence to the behavior, that because we talked about this, then this would have to be the consequence. However, it's subject to your behavior, and we can review it, because I need you to show me that you care about your self as much as I care about you, and love is communicated. And over and above that, now you can have a discussion about where they're coming from. Is something wrong? Have they done something wrong out there? You know where your child is at every point in time. So the second one is helpful, and it has helped you achieve your parenting goals in healthy ways, as opposed to the first one. And that's why we said the basic principle of parenting is being able to control your own emotions. If you can learn how to control your own emotions, you have done, let me even say 80% of the work in parenting. Because now what happens, we tend to react to how our children behave, and it creates situations that are not helpful for you or your child. So if you can learn how to regulate your own emotions, if you can learn how to work on your own emotions, you have done like 80% of the work, because now you're able to come from a point of being level-headed. One of you has to be level-headed, which is always the parent. You're the one who technically is meant to have their emotions in check, so that if your child is shouting, you're not shouting with them. If your child does something to upset you, you're not coming in from a point of anger or from a point of trying to assert your authority or trying to assert yourself. It's from a point of, we talked about this, you have gone past 13 rules that we had set. What's the problem? The consequences. Like, it comes from a point of being calm and being level-headed. In psychology, we have something where we say that your nervous system is what regulates your emotions. So your nervous system is usually triggered by certain things if you have not learned how to regulate it yourself. So when you get into a triggered state of the nervous system, which is usually either fight, flight, or freeze. Fight is when, say, something scary happens, your nervous system gets triggered, and then you you square up. We call it squaring up. You put up your fists as if you're ready to fight. I don't know if you guys have seen that happening when you scare someone and they put up their fists as if they're ready to fight. That's your nervous system that has been engaged in a fight response. A flight response, as it suggests, sometimes you scare someone and they run away. They don't know why they're running, but they run away. Or sometimes people will hear a loud noise and they'll start running. That's their nervous system that has been engaged. And then freeze is you scare someone, they freeze on the spot. They can't move, they can't do anything like that. There's also a fourth one we call fawn, but I won't talk about that. So those three are the ways in which your nervous system is usually triggered. So now what usually happens when your nervous system is triggered, you're no longer in control of yourself. You're no longer in control of the reactions of your body. Your nervous system is what determines how you're going to behave. That's why, you'll find people who were running, they got cut, they don't realize it. They'll only realize it when they are back to what we call homeostasis, or when they are back to their normal self. That's when they realize, hiya, I was cut as I was running away from something. So that's because you're not usually in control of what happens. Your senses are not engaged, they're disengaged. So even when something happens, you won't realize it. You'll find, for example, someone woke up in the night, there was fire in the house. They ran out without even thinking. When they got there, that's when they realized, hiya, my hair looks, crazy. People who've been, unfortunately, in accidents, they look back at the situation and they can't tell you what happened. They were not present in that situation. So that's the exact same thing that happens when we are parenting and we've not learned how to regulate our own emotions, or we've not learned how to regulate our own nervous system. Your child will do something and you'll go into fight response. So you shout at the child. And then later when you calm down, that's when you realize, I shouldn't have shouted at this child. Or another fight response is hitting your child while angry, or throwing something at them, or insulting them, or any of those things. And then later, now when you calm down, you're thinking, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? And so on and so forth. So we are saying, practically, if you can learn how to regulate your nervous system or regulate your own emotions, then you won't get to a point of disengaging where you're acting in ways where you're not in control. The point is to always remain in control. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress for all of us. But if you can remain in control, then you can also remain in control of how you react and how you behave. And that, is beneficial for your children. So we talked about the neglectful, where you're present, but you're not present, or you're not present at all, to mean you're there physically, but you're not there emotionally or intellectually or mentally where your children are, or you're just not there at all because, you're not present, you're out working and all that. And I gave you guys an example of this lady who used to earn a 6-7 figure, and she used to teach Sunday school. And, one day, and she kept hearing complaints about her child, but her child was so well behaved when they were together. And until she saw for herself how bad the situation had gotten, that's when she was, it's like she was jolted awake. I need to be present. And my prayer is that, none of us would get to a point where we realize why we need to be present because of negative circumstances. Your presence is extremely, I can't even overemphasize your presence. And when I say presence, I mean physically, emotionally, mentally, in all ways, that you are present for your child, so that you know what's going on in their lives. Create time to talk to your children during the week. If you can talk to your child every day, the better. Children are actually very willing to share with you what's going on if the parent allows it. They know you won't overreact, or, like I said, controlling your own emotions. They know you can be level-headed about it. Children are actually very willing to go to parents for help and for guidance and for direction. So create time to talk to your children and actually listen to them. Like, don't just talk to them to tick off a box. Actually pay attention to what they're saying. Pay attention to what they like, even from when they are young children. Pay attention to the things that make them happy, the things that bring them joy. Pay attention to their personality. Pay attention to their weaknesses, and try and overlook those more, and praise their strengths more. And you can only know that if you're present with your child, and you can only know what your child is going through if you're present. Let me also give you guys another example of this boy. He was a teenager in the States. This is actually another true story. And he was generally a well-behaved boy. However, his parents had not been around a lot. So he was not used to talking to his parents about what was going on in his life. He was just used to doing his own thing, making his own decisions. But they had a cordial relationship with the parent. But, and that's why we're saying you can be cordial with your child and be neglectful. You can be cordial with your child and be authoritarian and be all those things. So it doesn't mean that your relationship is out there bad for you to be any of those parenting styles. You can be cordial and still not be giving your child what they need. Which is why, being defensive is what we are trying to avoid. Don't try and explain away your actions. Just, work on being better, because, there's no judgment. Anyway, so this boy had been earning money for himself. He was also in school. I feel like in the States, there are a lot of opportunities, especially online. So he got into this deal for Forex trading, where he would earn money through some of that. I can't remember the exact details now, but this one time, he got into a deal of a lot of money, and it's like he lost in that Forex trading. And so there was a huge loss, like close to $1 million, like 700 and something dollars, that now he was supposed to pay because there was kind of like a loss. Forgive me, I don't understand Forex properly. I can't even explain to you properly because I don't remember the story like exactly, but that was the gist of the story, that he lost money online. But for him, it didn't make sense because, like he didn't think it would become that huge, or it didn't make sense to him that it was that huge. So they kept, sending him warning texts and all that, and even letters, and he kept putting in a message telling them that there has been an error in the system, they need to check their system and all that. I think that happened within the time span of 2 weeks. On the day of the deadline, it had not been resolved. He had tried calling, he had tried doing all that, and the young boy in his mind was wondering, where am I going to get this money? Already, his parents are paying his fees. He does not want to, burden them. He doesn't really talk to his parents, so he can't exactly talk to them about it. Unfortunately, this boy went and committed suicide because he had no one to talk to about what was going on. What's even sadder is that when the parents went into his room, they found an email from that company replying to his many texts and messages and emails, telling him that, they had identified the error in the system, and it's true there had been an error, and he doesn't owe money at all. Can you imagine how broken the parents were, that the email came in just after their child had committed suicide? And they were completely taken aback because they had no idea what he was doing. They had no idea that he used to work online. They had no idea at all. And that just shows you how detached those parents and the children were. In as much as they were cordial and they would talk and all that, they were still far removed from what was going on in the son's life. So I think that's just another example of how being neglectful can cost you your children, and not only physically, but also their future. It can cost their future because they have no one to give them guidance and no one to give them direction. So it's important to be authoritative. Then we talked about, gosh, I can't remember the name of the fourth one, but that's where you're not present for your child at all. You don't care, and I see you want to tell me. Neglectful was the third one. What's the fourth one?
No, that is the third one should be the permissive.
Or
Then there is the neglectful or the avoidant. Yes.
Yes, now let's talk about permissive, because I was talking about neglectful. So permissive is where you allow your child to do anything simply because you're trying to avoid conflict, or you're trying to make them love you as a parent. And you can't really fault a parent for that. We all want our children to love us. We all want our children to go through life with a good parent. However, being permissive is not the answer. You might think you're helping your child, but you're really not. You're destroying their future. Like we saw in those tantrum videos, like you'll see in those tantrum videos, refusing to correct your child or refusing to engage your child when they do something wrong is extremely harmful to your child, because they will continue with behaviors that will be destructive to them, even moving forward. Like we had talked about the last time, with this whole schools being burnt issue, some of those children come from permissive homes where the child has no regulations to their behavior. So I'm sure some of those children saw what was going on. They're like, see, even me, I join. Why? Because they've not been taught or corrected at home, and so the choices they make, they're really, there's no distinction between this is a harmful choice for me and this is a healthy choice for me. So that's really dangerous for your child in this day and age. And it's important to draw boundaries with your child. Your child will not hate you. In fact, your child will love you all the more if those boundaries are drawn with love. So that's what we talked about, the different styles of parenting. We talked about creating structure for your children, which is extremely important, that your children have structure from when they are young. This is when we eat, this is when we shower, and so on and so forth. And structure is helpful extremely for your children, and it also helps to keep you in check of what is going on so that you're not caught off guard. It really eases your parenting. Some of the things, practical examples of, let me just slowly kidogo ni divert hapa. For your children's nutrition, children sometimes tend to be picky eaters. So some tips for children who are picky eaters. Number one is to respect your child's appetite or lack of it. Your child will not starve themselves, so allow them to, don't force your child to eat a certain type of food or to eat a certain amount of food. Don't force them, don't bribe them. If they are not hungry, leave them alone, and also serve small portions. The job of the parent is to decide what is being eaten and when it is going to be eaten. That's your job, to create the structure of the what and the when, and also the where the food is being served. That's your only job as a parent. Your child's job is to decide if they are going to eat and how much they are going to eat. And how you can make that better is to respect their appetite, one. And I'm saying this because we're coming from a point where your parents would beat you if you didn't eat a certain amount of food, and if you didn't eat what was put before you. So we were forced to eat, and that's a very wrong way of going about helping your children develop a healthy relationship with food. Stick to a routine, like I've said. Same times of day you serve a meal. Be patient with new foods. Your children, they take time to adapt to new food, so be patient with them. Then if your child refuses to eat a meal, don't make them another meal. You're just encouraging them being a picky eater. So encourage your child to stay at the table for the designated meal time, whether they eat or not. Don't create them a different meal because they don't want to eat what's on the table. Encourage them to stay at the designated meal time. Then make it fun. make your foods fun. Cut them in fun shapes. Nowadays, there are so many shapes for cutting food. Make eating fun. Make them different colors, served differently, various shapes. Use cookie cutters, etc. Then recruit your child's help when you're shopping. Ensure your child is present, or you can, not always, but when you can help them, when you can, they can be present to help you pick, fruits, vegetables, etc. So that, they are present for the decision making of what is going to be cooked at home. It really helps. Then set a good example, eat a variety of healthy foods, and your child is likely to do what they see you doing. Like we talked about, be creative, then minimize distractions. Turn off the television, other electronic gadgets during meals, and it will help your child focus on eating. And don't, offer dessert as a reward, or don't reward your child when they eat or when they don't eat. Don't punish them. Just know that, you're trying to teach your child to be independent, and they won't eat well if they feel pressure. So trust that your child will eat if they are hungry, and then limit the meal time. Allow your child a maximum of 30 minutes to eat the meal. If after 30 minutes, whatever is on their plate is not done, take it away, and let that be a routine for your child, so that they know, if I'm hungry, I need to eat between this time and this time with zero distractions, and eat as much as I can. And then try again. Continue offering food to your children, new foods, especially for your child to get accustomed to eat. So that's basically how to deal with a picky eater. That was just a by the way. Anyway, so we've said create routines where eating is concerned and all that. And then structure or routines. Create structure for your children. And then we've said the most important is to control your own emotions. If you can regulate your own nervous system, if you can regulate your own emotions, you'll be a better parent all the more for it. I think those are the basics for now. I'll share those videos so that you can see practical examples of what we are saying. I think also, if you have any personal questions to you and to your parenting journey, feel free to ask, feel free to seek help. There's also a lot of content online, but in the same way that you study to be to get a degree or any of those things, let's devote time to study on how to be a good parent. There's a lot of good material online, and it will help you make decisions better. Also, like we said, don't beat yourself up. There's therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And God's grace covers, and God's mercy covers, and we are grateful for that. Lastly, your relationship with God cannot be overemphasized. Your relationship with God will determine a lot of these aspects, whether you're able to be authoritative, whether you're able to listen, whether you're able to control your own emotions and all that. So your relationship with God, time spent reading scripture, time spent in prayer, because prayer will reach where you can't with your children. You can't always be present with your children. You can't always be there for them in the way that you would hope to. But prayer has no time limitations, has no space limitations, none of that. It can reach where you can't reach, where your children are concerned. It can reach your children who are in the coast, and it can keep them safe there, and it can direct them and convict them while there. So prayer changes things, and prayer is a weapon you have that cannot be overemphasized. Yes, thank you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Wambui. And of course, listening to you, knowing that most of us have done parenting, some of us are right in there of the ages of tantrums. I like the part of controlling our own emotions. And I think this is where the buck stops. Most of us, because we have so much baggages, it's not like we are mean. It's not like we want to treat our children in such a mean way. But I think because of that aspect of being able to control our own emotions, and because we are on Valley of Hope, this is a place where we are able to give hope to, and you cannot give hope that you do not have. So the reason as to why we are doing all this is, can we be able also to deal, because I think for today, what stood out is being able to deal with our own emotions. Again, there is something I was capturing as you were talking, because really some of the things that you're teaching, being a parent, they look like a big mountain. They look like something that is undoable. But when you look at the end product, when you look at what is the outcome, what do I want to achieve? And for me, I think the moment I started being able to see my children not as kids, not as babies, but looking at them as adults in the future, I want to produce a responsible person in the future. I think for me, it really changed my parenting. So even when I sit in such places, and I'm telling you, Wambui, some of the things you're teaching, they are completely, we have done all of them. Personally, I have. But because I want to produce a responsible person in society, I want to produce also a responsible parent during the time when they will become parents. I realize it is easy to take those teachings. It is easy to take those challenges and be able to start dealing with our own life. The first time I got this aspect of parenting styles, I think my daughter must have been in class 2. And I remember that time, that one of not being able to handle emotions, I remember I would always handle her misconduct from the position of emotions, that flight mode. And of course, the kind of things you do. In her book that she has written, she has even quoted how I would pinch her until I take out the skin. Because that is how bad it becomes when you are in that flight mode. Because you are already not dealing with your child, but you are reacting to your inner emotions that are imbalanced. So the more we desire ourselves to even also heal and be able to heal of our emotions, so that we don't always blame them. You know, I like the way the statement we keep making, that hata mimi nina shinda zangu. I also have my own problems. That's why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them. So now, instead of using that as an excuse, we can deal with these problems that we have so that we can also become better parents. I don't want to take all the time because I have another meeting at 8. I don't want to take all the time for the question session. You're there on, you would want to comment, ask a question. I'll take it back to you, and I want also to give Evangelist Grace, you're there?
Yes, Sister Anne.
Yeah, you can comment even as we wait for questions and comments.
Yes. You can hear somebody else commenting saying,
yes, you are many.
I don't think Shoso knows how to to cope with someone else's emotion. And I don't know whether it's our culture, Sister Anne, that causes us not to cope, especially our children. And I have heard Elizabeth saying that I am not showing any emotional, and I was like, how am I going to show emotional? Especially you know how we grew up is not the way they are growing up. They become sometimes so emotional, and when we are growing up, even when we become emotional, our parents actually, the more you become emotional, the more we were getting being beaten. So it's not easy for us also to see how to cope with with our children emotions, but without God, by the grace of God, our boys, sometimes I think we through prayer we can become. But I think these days I am better than I was before. No, I was not feeling that bad. I think now because of challenging with people or with the children I have come across, they have gone through challenges. When they come to me for a prayer, for a word of encouragement, now I know what it means. But before then, I did not know. Let me speak the truth. So we used to think that they are pretending. Like the way our mom used to tell us, why are you crying? Come here. And then you get more beating, you know. So thank you so much for the teaching. I'm telling you, I was like, if I am raising a child today, if I have to give a child again for a boy, I can become a better parent. But even as grandmothers, we need to have it. And I think that is why Sister Anne, you fight even the little children, they get like fun or hit by something, and they'll come and tell you, can you kiss my boo boo? That is, you kiss the hand, that has pain. Now we are better. I can see myself, I'm better because of surrounding myself with other people or other families, other parents or other children that are going through emotion, even mine, when they come to something. I feel like it's affecting me. And